Pacing a Toolkit. Hi, I am Melissa from melissaversusfibromyalgia.com, and we are talking all things pacing. I think it's really important. This has been a requested topic, so I'm super excited to be able to deliver this in this way. So we're going to talk about what pacing is, how on earth do we get started, why on earth should we care about it, and I've got a bit of homework for you to do so that you can ascertain your baseline and get started with your own plan, because it's all very well to listen to me share some information with you, but if you don't actually do anything about it, then it's kind of worthless, right? So what is pacing and how do we get started? Pacing is a crucial concept to get when we're living with chronic pain and fatigue. So finding and utilizing our energy envelope can help us to avoid unnecessarily higher levels of pain and fatigue. So when you are doing far too much, you're causing more pain and fatigue, right? And that's not what we want. Almost every man and his dog, I know where that saying comes from, but anyway, almost every man and his dog who write about managing fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome recommend it. And they are right. But what does it mean, and how can it have practical applications in our life? So I'm a big fan of the Fast and Furious movies. It's Vin Diesel for me, by the way. But they all live their lives a quarter mile at a time. Now, as a New Zealander, I can't properly visualize that because we talk in kilometers. But as a chronic illness fighter, I get that whole living a moment at a time. So when I get up, I'm generally coping until it's the baby's nap so that I can have a rest and do my meditation. Yoga Nidra guided meditation is my best bet for true relaxation. I cannot nap at all. But after that, I'm coping through till bedtime. Those are kind of the markers that frame my day. But how on earth did I figure out what my markers are? How did I decide what my work-life balance was? How did I decide what my energy envelope is? Well, I'm going to share all of that with you. So pacing simply means aligning what we do with our energy and symptom levels. So I've spoken before about trying to outlive my levels. So working as if I were a 60 on the CFIDS rating scale, which we'll talk about soon. But actually my symptom levels were in line with a 50. So I really was just causing myself more pain and fatigue than was necessary. So the concept of pacing actually transcends those big boundaries, like how many hours we work, whatever that means for us, whether that's paid work or volunteering or parenting or caregiving or housekeeping. But it's an important place to start, those big areas, right? So pacing is a tool that can be used for those big whole of life things, but can also be used day to day and moment to moment. So it doesn't just mean doing less overall, it also means using our energy as wisely as possible. So working with our bodies and our circadian rhythms and our natural energy rhythms through the day. It also means delegating tasks that just don't work for us. So there's quite a lot to it, yeah? But how can we start to assess and implement wise pacing? So I've got, I mentioned just before, the CFIDS rating scale. So you can find your own rating scale. I'll give you a link below. It's the ME, CFS, and Fibromyalgia rating scale. This is the best symptom scale I've come across. You can use whatever one you like. I like this one because it talks about 0 to 100, so it almost gives you a visualization of percentage. So it gives us a good way to kind of envision our cup compared to other people, and gives us a sense of the symptom severity, so mild, moderate, or severe, and puts it alongside those hours of work for a frame of reference. So for example, I talked to you about previously being a 50. A 50 says able to do about 4 to 5 hours of work or similar activity at home, daily rests required, symptoms mostly moderate. Okay, so my symptoms were mostly moderate, yet I was trying to do 6 or 7 hours of work a day outside of the house, in addition to all of the responsibilities I had in the house. So I was just keeping myself in a cycle of more pain and fatigue. And when I brought it back and came in line with my level, it actually helped me to go up a step. So now I am actually a 60. So that's able to do about 6 to 7 hours work a day. That's work in and out of the house. That's all your work, right? With mostly mild to moderate symptoms. So my symptoms are kind of on the mild end, but they're all day, every day, no matter what, with flares quite regularly to make us moderate. But knowing this having this as my baseline and understanding really helps to create a framework. So what I would like you to do is find your rating, whether you use this rating scale or something else. Just find your baseline and what your rating is so that you can start to get a sense, because it will help you with your brainstorming. Then I want you to write down what you do each day and track your pain and fatigue levels, and then look for a pattern over a 2-week period. There's actually a simple activity tracker which you can download for free from the ME/CFS and Fibromyalgia self-help website. I will provide you a link to that. So that's a really great way to do it. If you have a pedometer or a Fitbit or some kind of other activity tracker, that can be useful for helping you to find your ideal energy envelope. So some people, for example, find their ideal step count, the step count that helps them to be as well as possible without causing extra pain, and they try to live in line with that. That's a really great way to do it. And listen to what your body is telling you. So grab an empty piece of paper and a pen and just free write about your ideal day so that you can see what your intuition is telling you. I mean, obviously we're not saying things like we'd like to be sitting on a beach sipping mojitos, right? We're talking about within our life what we have to do, but just kind of get a sense of what your intuition is telling you. For a long time, my body was screaming at me to work less. I had this sense that I needed to work a little bit less to create some space. And my doctor kept saying, don't do it, you'll just still be in pain, but you'll have less money. But actually this intuition kept going, and I did it. And it actually made all the difference in the world. It actually started this journey. So that big lifestyle change is what made a big difference for me. So if you could do your homework, find your baseline, start brainstorming from there. In our next talk, we're going to look at what my pacing includes. So all of the things that you can consider and use the idea of pacing for, and what the point of it is, and some more practical tips of how to actually use the concept of pacing. Hi, Melissa from Melissa vs. Fibromyalgia here, and we are doing Pacing, a Toolkit Part 2. Welcome back. Did you see the first talk? Did you find your rating scale? And did you do some brainstorming or tracking to find your baseline? We'll build on this and more today, talk about what my pacing includes, all of the things that you can consider, because remember I told you that pacing applies to way more than just your whole of life framework. You can use it for all sorts of things. And what's the point? What has it done for me to be pacing? So, as I said, remember, pacing is a broad tool and we can use it every day. So it applies to our whole of life balance, how many hours we work or volunteer or caregive in total. It also applies to how we manage our activities during the day, how we approach exercise, and more. So as a way of visualizing what it can mean, I'm going to share my concept of what pacing looks like across my life. Because sometimes these ideas are a little bit abstract and they look great on a piece of paper or when someone tells it to you, but until you actually hear a concrete way of how someone uses it, it can be just a little bit out of reach. So my pacing includes how much I work. So currently I do around 10 to 15 hours a week on my business around my children. Before my children, I found that 27.5 hours was good for me. It was the big thing that changed everything. So learning what my energy envelope was and the best times of day to do my work made a big difference. So I was pretty sick, pretty unwell when I first reduced my hours, but I reduced to 27.5 hours, and I finished work by 3, because what I noticed was by 3 I just faded. And it actually made a really big difference for me to change it up at 3 o'clock. So I would leave work and I'd go pick up my brothers from school. My 2 youngest brothers were still in school. And when I went to part-time hours, I moved back home with my family to make it viable, right? And so I'd pick up my brothers and I'd go home with them and we'd do afternoon tea and we'd do their homework and we'd go for a gentle walk together. So I can talk about that a bit more later, but I actually had to reduce the amount of exercise I was doing to reduce the amount of pain I was experiencing, which is very interesting given a lot of the normal advice. But anyway, we'd go for a little walk and then we'd prepare dinner together, and I'd have a rest as well. So I would sit on the couch. This is before I found meditation, so I wasn't terribly efficient at it, but I rested. And that, just finding that simple change in the rhythm made a difference. So the whole of life thing made a difference, but also just that time of day and recognizing when I work the best really made a difference. It helped my productivity. So it meant that, I'm pretty sure that in my 3/4 time job, I was doing as much as a full-timer. I did a lot, and I actually have had to work on chilling out about that. But pacing and work hours is a big deal. So another way I use it is how I distribute things like household chores. So my cleaning and my cooking and my childcare, I actually distribute it wisely. So for example, I have a little schedule that I do for my cleaning. So those bigger cleaning tasks like changing all of the linen on the beds and vacuuming and all that, I distribute it across the week so that I don't have a ginormous energy output on cleaning so that I can't do anything else that day. I also delegate the things that are too hard. So I save the vacuuming of, our house is a bit of a Frankenstein house, but we have bedrooms upstairs and we have a rumpus room downstairs. So I take care of vacuuming the main areas, but on the weekend I ask my husband to do the vacuuming for me, and he does the upstairs and downstairs because I find it quite tiring. So that's another way that we can use pacing as well. Exercise, 30 minutes maximum at a time, and that's keeping it manageable for me. So that's why I do yoga broken down into chunks in my program, because we need to adapt it. So for a long time, my line was 20 minutes. If I did less than 20 minutes, I'd have more pain and fatigue, but if I did more, I'd have heaps more pain, especially in my legs and my glutes. And actually, as I noted before, I used to try and do more exercise than that, and I was keeping constant tension and pain in my glutes and my thighs. And by reducing how much I exercise, so I dropped it right down to like 10 or 15 minutes and then slowly built up. And I did 20 to 25 minutes for a long time. I actually reduced some of the pain I was experiencing, because not all of our pain is from the fibromyalgia. Some of it is from overdoing it. Some of it is from trigger points. I had active trigger points in my glutes. So it was a good lesson. Also, regular rest breaks. Okay, so putting designated rest breaks throughout your day can really help you with your that is a tool of pacing that can help you with your day. So sitting with the heat pack for a few minutes regularly when you're feeling a little bit overwhelmed or a little bit sore, sit with the heat pack. I also have one big break. So my meditation break is after lunch. I do a 30-minute guided meditation while the baby is sleeping. Some people are able to nap. If you're lucky enough to nap and it doesn't interrupt your nighttime routine, go for it. Some people prefer like restorative yoga there, so a few passive poses because meditation might not be their thing, but having a designated rest break in the day is a big deal for me. When my day finishes and the time I stop trying to do anything significant. So once the kids are in bed, I'm generally done. I'm over the day, but I'm also almost always in bed by 9:30, 10 o'clock. And I don't really do anything significant after 7 o'clock. I do not do any projects. I hardly do anything. That's when my body is finished. How quickly I get going in the morning. So I know that I need 15 minutes to sit with my coffee and heat pack, because I need that heat pack to get some movement going in my neck. So I never schedule things super early in the morning, and I always make sure that's factored in. I say no when I need to. So unfortunately, this is mostly around going out in the evening and being careful with weekend activities and trips away, but I know when to say no. Keeping space for flares. So when symptoms flare, things have to go, right? So you have to plan flexibly so that you can create space for managing that. So that was a lot of things, but I just wanted to give you a sense of all the different ways that pacing has become part of my life, which is helping me manage. So what's it all in service of? Why am I doing it? Basically, I want the biggest symptom reduction possible. My biggest aim in life, besides being a good mama and helping as many people as I can through my work, is the least pain and fatigue possible. So what has pacing done for me? What has all this work that I've put in done for me? It helps me to sleep better because I'm less overtired, and when I'm less overtired, I sleep better. If I've had my rest breaks and I've relaxed in the evening and I've gone to bed at a decent time, I sleep much better than if I don't. Fun fact, I actually sleep worse on the days I haven't rested and go to bed late. That sleep reverse psychology thing does not work here. It reduces my pain. So by taking my rest breaks and adhering to my framework, I actually experience less pain, especially by limiting computer time. I have less brain fog and overwhelm. I have more enjoyment, and I have a better quality of life. So what I do, I love, and I am thankful for it, and I can give more to it because I have less pain and fatigue. So do I sometimes choose to go outside of this framework? Yeah. If I deem the benefits higher than the costs, I'll push it from time to time, especially if it's something that can make my kids and husband happy. But I always factor their long-term happiness in as well. So for example, something in the short term might be great for them. They might think it's great, but if I'm going to be unwell for like a week or two afterwards and unable to do the things I need to do, then it's not worth it, right? And so things like occasional evening parties with modifications, I can do. Previously, I used to feel kind of physically sick. If I stayed up past 9 o'clock, I would just get physically unwell. Now I just get really tired and sore, which can continue for a couple of days, depending how it goes, but I can usually mitigate it with a bit of extra rest. So knowing those things are going to happen helps me make my cost versus benefit analysis for things. But these are things that are hard learned. Okay, I had to do trial and error to figure it out. I had to figure out what I can and I can't handle, and I've had to cope with years of knowingly overdoing it before I could get to this point. It's not that easy, and I know that. I know that we all have things that we have no choices about, and that's why when we do the third talk, which is going out to the Melissa versus Fibromyalgia newsletter list, and it's already available in my membership, we talk about what on earth you can do if you can't tackle those big things yet. So what about when we have a flare as well? So this is where the one moment at a time comes in. So know and enact your coping mechanism and take it one moment at a time. When it's rough, you do need to look after yourself and take it step by step. So that concept of pacing comes right down. And all of your tools that you've learned get enacted. So I hope this has given you a really good idea of what pacing is, how you can use it for yourself, the different areas that you can start to use it for. Please know I didn't just enact all of these things at one time. It's kind of been a slow learning process. The first thing I did to create space to start doing all the rest of it was reduce my work hours that little bit, and it did make a difference, particularly because fatigue is a problem for me, but also because trigger points are a problem, and sitting on the computer causes my trigger points problems. So that made a big difference. So for you, shaving 10 hours off your work week may not make as much of a difference, but something else might. So just bear all that in mind as well. We are really unique. Hey team, Melissa from Melissa vs. Fibromyalgia here. I am super excited that we are on part 3 of the Pacing Toolkit. So this is exclusively for you, either my newsletter members or my Melissa vs. Fibromyalgia membership. So my membership is a sliding scale membership, and what happened was you had access to all 3 videos immediately, a week before everybody else, in addition to the audio. So in case you prefer to listen to them as a podcast, you get that, plus the downloadable PDF of all the talks and the information and the links, plus 3 templates to help you with it: the pacing worksheet, perpetual cleaning plan, and the daily symptom log. So if you want to join us, get started. It's all going to be available in there permanently, and there are way more toolkits and resources and information in there, and there's way more coming. This is really the place where I am able to let loose and help you as much as possible. Today we are getting practical. We have talked about what pacing is, how we can get started, what it can include, what it looks like for me, so that you can get a sense of what it can look like for you, and more. So get out your worksheet if you're a member and you've already downloaded it, or grab a sheet of paper and take notes. Remember to have your activity tracking sheets and all of your stuff that you were writing down for your baselines, and let's do this. So let's talk about the big stuff. Have you already written in your rating scale, and was it a surprise to you? How far outside of this is your life currently structured? Is there a huge difference? And are there some things that need to change? It's likely that you've had kind of an inkling that some of these things need to change, or you've had a sense that something needs to change for you to be able to manage better. Write it all down. Well, you may not be able to do it immediately, but identifying it and then being able to work towards it can make a real difference. So I knew for a long time that working full-time wasn't working for me. I had to work predominantly on the computer. That's where my skills lay, and I needed to reduce, and I needed to do that space, because I would literally get home from work and be in so much pain that I'd cook up 1 batch of roast vegetables and eat it over the week with like a tin of tuna or something, because I couldn't cook. I didn't have the energy to read. I didn't have the energy to do anything other than watch television series on DVD in my bed with my heat pack. I was miserable, and I was like 25. And on the weekend, I didn't really do much either. Sunday was pretty much a write-off. So I knew that it had to happen. And when the opportunity presented itself, boy, did I act fast. So that's the big stuff. Really take the time to work through it and think how you can get there. So let's talk about the smaller stuff, the stuff that you can more likely tackle quickly. So are there any non-negotiables that you can just get out of your life right now? Things that drain you or don't need to be done by you. So as an example, vacuuming the upstairs and rumpus rooms of our house is physically quite tiring. So actually normal vacuuming is quite tiring for me. I don't know why that's so hard compared to other things, but anyway, it's hard. I get tired, so I delegate that to my husband. So on my little cleaning plan I've created, I leave that for the weekend and I get my husband to do it. Maybe you're working and you could set aside some of your cleaning tasks for a cleaner to help you. All of those little things really add up. So anything you can get rid of it. Anything you can say no to, say no. The next question is to help you visualize what you can do. So what is within your current energy envelope? Because it's good to look at what you can do and not what you can't do only. So look at those little things that you can do every week or day, especially things that make you feel good, right? Say you have something you love to do. Maybe you used to love painting big canvases, but that's just a big nightmare now to clean up and to stand around for that long. Maybe you could get yourself a coloring book with some coloring pencils and do it seated comfortably in your chair. So have a think about what you can do. So another thing that's good to do is to set goals that have come to mind, and then you can start to work towards them. So maybe goals to increase your capacity or goals to kind of improve your life, like, you know, making reductions and saying no to things. So if you set your goal, then you can start to set how to work on it. So maybe you're committed to something right now, but you can start to make an action plan for backing out of it. Write it down, because I really think that so many of us have got to this point where we don't realize we can say no anymore. We need to start saying no. So let's talk about what kinds of things can help. So what increases your capacity? Is it sleep? Is it rest? Is it a massage? Write it all down. For me, that's yoga, sleeping as well as possible, seeing a physiotherapist, meditation. Those things help, because it's really important to know what helps, because then you can integrate them into your life and they kind of help you build your capacity. And then next you can write up your self-care mechanisms. So what do you want to enact every day? What really makes a difference to you each day? So perhaps you have to keep working for now, but could you meditate during your lunch break or in the car before you pick your kids up? I actually used to do that. So I realized that meditation really made a difference for me. And I think I finished work at 3 o'clock at this point, and I would drive the car, park outside of where my son's carer was, close the windows, close the doors, turn on a 10-minute guided meditation, and that would just perk me up just enough to get through the evening. So little things like that become part of your framework. And sometimes I think we get so overwhelmed with everything we've got going on that we forget those little coping mechanisms, or we don't make them non-negotiable. Let's find out what works for us and make them non-negotiable and fit them into your life and do it every single day so it becomes habit. So in the last box, if you're working on your worksheet, write down some of the things that have been on your mind to try. So CBD oil is something that's on my list, but it's actually really expensive and by prescription only here in New Zealand at the moment. I'm also a bit too scared to try it, and then it helps, and then it's too expensive to continue. But I think it's really nice while we're working on all of this stuff to write down those things that we've been wanting to try and experiment with. I know it's not specifically pacing, but it is specifically improving our quality of life. So let's get into the nitty-gritty. So looking at our daily rhythm. So what works best for you? So when do you go to bed? When do you have rest breaks? What are your work hours? All those sorts of things, the things that we can do now in our days. So what is your current work to rest ratio? For example, maybe for you, you are right now doing half an hour of rest for every 15 minutes of activity. So maybe you do the dishes and then you have to rest on the couch. So what does that ratio look like for you? And how are you helping yourself adhere to it? And are you working on a goal for gently increasing it? And if you want to work on exercise, where are you at right now? And what is your goal or plan of attack? So maybe you're doing 5 minutes of stretching or yoga a day, and perhaps you want to add one more stretch that takes an extra minute each day for a few days. Then maybe you want to add another. This could be an entire training in itself, but this is about symptom reduction, not the amount of time you exercise. Let me say that again. This is about symptom reduction. I don't care how much you exercise, especially if you already manage the minimum recommended amount for cardiovascular health. This is about your symptoms and making an improvement in your quality of life. Let me know if that's something that you're interested in an extra training on, and I'll see what I can do. So another thing that can be tricky to manage, which can be paced out, is household management tasks. So I have a template that can help you allocate your tasks across the week as fit with your current schedule and energy needs. So for example, I do the linen and make the beds on a Monday. I do the vacuuming in the living areas and the dusting on a Tuesday. On Wednesdays, I don't schedule anything big because that's the day I have a few hours dedicated to my work. On Thursdays, I do all of the wipe down. So anything that can be wiped down and disinfected, I do. Fridays are for the bathroom and toilet, and then we go into the weekend fairly clean. But on the weekend, I allocate those tasks I can share with my husband. Like we talked about the vacuuming of the bedrooms and the rumpus room and the yard work. That's not something that I'm really good at. It doesn't always work out like that, but the system helps me to spread it out. So I don't get to Friday and go, shoot, I've got nothing done. The house is a mess and we're about to have everybody at home. And I have a template to help you write that up for yourself. So if you're in the membership, you just download it. If you want to go and get it from my Etsy store, I'll provide a link for you. So you can also do this kind of plan with meal planning and shopping. So I order our shopping online and I have it come on a Friday, and then on Sunday we cook a little bit extra to help with the week. So not only do I do my cooking, and I always cook double, so I never cook one meal at a time. So if I'm cooking mince, I cook enough say chili to do a couple of meals, but I also have something for my husband to cook as well, so that we end up with quite a few things for the week, because I hate cooking and it's actually really difficult to do with 3 small children. So little things like that can be scheduled and put into your overall day. So have a look at what your day or week looks like. Have a look at what you can add in to help yourself cope. Have a look at what you can take out again to help yourself cope. And then have a look at how you can allocate things carefully across the week to get up with it. So what you have to get done doesn't necessarily have to be all done on the same day. So just have a look at your week plan and see how you can work it all out. Now, I know that there are people here who just have no help and no way to change those big things, but you do have a choice on what day you do the linen and what day you do the vacuuming, yeah? So do your best to spread it out so you're not doing it all at once. And I didn't really encourage you to find those little things that help you and put them into the day, because it is not selfish to look after you. So if sitting down with your heat pack for 5 minutes helps you, please just do it and schedule it into your day. All those little things, they actually do make a difference. So I hope that this has really helped you. I hope that you are going to start taking even one concrete thing away from today to help you. That's what I hope. I always hope that what I do has helped in some way, even if it's not going to be some ginormous lifestyle change. Tell me that there's one thing that can help you that you will do. My wish for you is that something will help you improve in some small way. I mean, my ultimate wish is for us to all be cured, but in the absence of that, let's look for improvement. Thank you so much for being here. I am so grateful for you, and I will catch you again soon.